morning. Welcome to the Great Food, Great Stories podcast on Portland Culinary Radio. I'm Stephen Shomler, your host, and we have taken the Great Food, Great Stories podcast on the road for 2 awesome episodes. We are here at Hood Crest Winery in Hood River, Oregon, and I have Tess and Patrick, the founders of Hood Crest. Good morning, you guys.
Good morning, Steve. Welcome.
I am just so excited to have you guys here and tell your story. So, Tess, you're the winemaker, and Patrick, you kind of do everything else.
Yeah. With a little bit of the winemaking.
All right. So, Tess, I'm always curious, where were you born?
I was born in Multnomah County, Portland, Oregon.
Which hospital?
Multnomah County Hospital.
Multnomah County Hospital?
Yeah, I don't think it exists anymore, but I'm not sure.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Oak Grove, Oregon, in southeast Portland.
So right near Milwaukee?
Yep, right near Milwaukee.
And which high school?
Rex Putnam.
All right, so I know that you guys moved to Hood River in 2003.
Yes.
And you moved from Port Townsend.
That's correct.
A town I love.
Yeah.
So how did you end up from Portland, roughly, to Port Townsend?
I got on a sailboat and got a job at Roach Harbor Resort on San Juan Island, and I left Oak Grove and moved to the San Juans and lived on a sailboat for 7 years.
Wow. That is very, very different.
It is.
All right, and somewhere along the way, while in Port Townsend, Patrick entered your life.
He did.
And Patrick, I've heard the story. You tell great. So tell the story of how you and Tess met.
Well, Tess met my family before she met me. They lived in Roach Harbor also and shared a dock where Tess would wash her hair. And they were living while they built their house in Roach Harbor. And I would come up and visit, and I'd actually met Tess through a friend that was dating her. And after a breakup of a marriage, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, my brother says, you need to come up for Halloween, and we're going to party. So I went to Halloween in Friday Harbor and San Juan Island, and quite a festive activity on the island to give them a chance to party, and it's pretty fun. And lo and behold, I see a mermaid, and I had just come off working a dive boat and been on the sea quite a lot of my life. And this mermaid was quite beautiful in a wonderful costume, and we immediately kind of hit that magic point, and it wasn't until the evening was almost over that we realized we actually had known each other. But that was it, and the sailor was struck by the mermaid, and we've been together ever since. That's almost 30 years.
So you guys had previously met each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then how long before you guys, you just start dating right away then?
Yes, we
Yes.
did. Yep.
We moved in together 2 weeks later. I moved off the island and moved to Seattle.
And we had a house in Seattle where I was working, but we still had I had a house in Port Townsend too. So we were kind of living both places, and eventually just became Port Townsend.
Excellent. I love Port Townsend. It's a great town. A lot of great culinary scene. Finn River Cider is near there. I love Finn River. Okay, so speaking of Finn River, speaking of cider, it is apple champagne that brought you here in 2003 to Orchard Road, which is a whole different way for a winery to be birthed, is through apple champagne. So tell me the apple champagne story.
Well, we'd been making it in Port Townsend. It was kind of the end of the season. Guy that I commercially fished with, it was kind of a fun thing to do at the end of the season where we'd run around in my truck and load up all the apples people had not picked yet, and he had a press, and we'd make apple juice and fill all these little plastic water bottles so our kids could have apple juice all year as we'd put it in a freezer. And one time we just had so much, we were going, oh man, we're running out of things to put it in. What are we going to do this extra 10 gallons? And he said, well, let's go get a couple carboys. And it was getting kind of late because we'd have a bonfire and maybe some whiskey had come out and everything. But he says, I can call the lady at the wine shop and we'll get some carboys. And at that point, I didn't even know what a carboy was. But I came home with a 5-gallon carboy of the apple juice, and Tess says, what are we going to do with that? And I said, we're going to make some wine. And she says, we don't like apple wine. And, go to bed. And so she gets on the internet and starts finding out this. There's an Icelandic, which I am Icelandic, an Icelandic recipe to make champagne out of apple juice. And so that's what we did. And we're very lucky to make some amazing sparkling apple wine. And we kind of became known for it. When we came down here to Hood River, we met some people making wine, some of the winery people who just kind of fell into and showed them what we were doing.
So those are people like at Y East and Mount Hood.
Yes.
Yep, great people at Y East, love them.
They really are. We love those
and
guys.
Also, I was kind of in between jobs, and here we are living on Orchard Road looking at apple orchards all around, and I go, maybe my job should be to really try to do the apple champagne in a big way. And we spoke with the people that own the orchards, and we'd met them, and they liked the idea. And one day they roll in a truck with about 5 50-gallon drums of apple juice and said, let's make that champagne you talk about. And we go, oh, my goodness, okay. And that's kind of how it started. And the first large effort was a lot more work than we imagined. And we did get the alcohol level a little high. There were issues with retaining the bubble, like we'd always had that perfect champagne. And, we told our frustration to some of the winery people, and they said, look, if you guys can make apples taste like that, why don't you just start with wine, still wine? You can probably grow grapes right where you're at. There's grapes out there. Why don't you just try that? And, we did.
We did.
All right, so Tess, I want to talk about your winemaking journey. But first, just prior to making wine, you had, I'm always asking about people's careers before they opened a food cart, before they started becoming a chocolate maker, before they became winemaker. I know you've told me before, I'm not smart enough to understand it all, but I'm very curious. Share it with us. What did you do before you became a winemaker professionally?
Well, I'm a patented formulator. So what that means is I formulate patentable complexes and formulas for companies across the United States, and I work with a patent attorney firm out of Houston, Texas. And so I would formulate the patents, formulate the products, and write the patents and send them over to the attorneys who then would file them with the USPTO.
And so what kind of things have you formulated or patented?
Well, I have filed over 100 patents and formulated, and some of them they're all pretty interesting, mostly refrigeration fluid additives. I was nominated as Inventor of the Year in Houston, Texas for those. And I've also done epoxy, lubricating epoxy formulations, transdermal drug delivery systems, stuff like that.
Is that some chemical background?
Yes, and my whole success in it was that I think outside the box. So whenever the attorneys would have a particularly tough go at trying to make a patent work, they would call me.
That's awesome. And you're just obviously a genius in addition to an amazing winemaker.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
Smartest woman I know.
So 2011, you guys opened Hood Crest Winery. You were a legal entity in 2010, toward the end of 2010.
Correct.
You got to get your TTP stuff and your LCC stuff. But you are in a little building that was going to have a little room for you, and then it was going to be Patrick's wood shop.
That's correct.
And you lost your wood shop, did you not?
Wood shop and car shop. Yeah, I had made that beautiful little back room for her and let her have a couple barrels back there. But then, as Tess so now famously said, honey, a barrel of wine just doesn't last as long as you think it should.
It doesn't.
So I say, okay, honey, you can make more next year. And the 2 turned into 5 to 11 to 25. And every time it got more, I lost more of my shop till she finally took the whole thing over.
We just moved 83 barrels out of there to this facility.
So it was chock-a-block full.
And so you had a winemaking facility, and you had a little tasting room over there, and you did that 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is 16.
Yep.
So 6 years. And today, actually, is the grand opening of this amazing, huge building.
It is.
That's got a beautiful tasting room and a great winemaking facility. So what's it like to move into a bigger space where you actually have room?
Wow, we're still kind of taking it all in. It's pretty amazing. It's 5,500 square feet, and overall with the top floor, it's 7,900 square feet. And we're just so lucky to have all this space and be able to temperature control everything. Before we had basically a tasting patio, and so we'd be out in the elements all day, and because I filled it up with wine. And now we've got this great facility, and we've got a full commercial kitchen. We've got a beautiful pizza oven here, and the kitchen's just all state of the art. We have 9 chandeliers throughout the building and 21 sconces. We've got a private VIP tasting room, which has 5 puncheons of our reserve wine in it and all our library wine. And we also have this big fermenter sitting over there.
So if anybody does, when you come to Hood Crest to check out the winery, I want you to look down and look up, because all the wainscoting, all the woodwork, all those little touches that a lot of people ignore, the wine is fantastic, and we'll get to the wine. But those little woodworking touches, that's you, Patrick.
Yes, yeah.
You put your heart and soul in it. You actually, and now you have your wood shop back. Is that pretty exciting?
Yeah, it's still down here, kind of in the crush pad, but I will have my space back where it'll move up there. But we're still doing some finishing touches here. So,
and you mentioned your fermenter. That's a fooder.
Uh-huh.
And for those that don't know, what is a fooder? What is this big, magnificent thing? I'll put a picture on the website's article for the website with the photo.
Well, it's a French oak fermenter for wine, and it has a cooling bar in it. It holds 2,830 gallons of wine. It will take about 8 to 10 tons of fruit to fill it up. It is 12 feet high. It's 7.5 feet around. It weighs 4,000 pounds, and it sits perfectly in its spot, and it will never move again. It took 2 hours to get it in here, and about 6 people and 2 different kinds of forklifts to get it in here.
So you'll put juice, wine that's just becoming wine, into that.
We'll put grapes in it.
Yeah, and it'll stay there for about a year?
Well, we'll make wine. We'll crush the grapes, and I don't crush them so much anymore. We'll destem the grapes and put them in there with the yeast and the everything else that goes into it, and then it will ferment in there, and then we'll take it out to press it, and then we'll put it back in there for storage. All our wines stay in French oak. We only use French oak, and stays in French oak for about 2 years. That one will probably stay there until we do our harvest for 2017, and then it'll go into other barrels and be used again for the 2017 harvest.
So wine that starts out in the fooder will be there about a year, and then it'll spend a second year roughly in barrels.
Yes.
But we still have to press it. We'll put it in there, and it'll do that fermenting for a few weeks, and then we press it, and then we put the juice back in to take the skins off.
The wine back in.
So what's it like having an adequate size crush pad? You haven't used it yet.
We haven't used it yet.
Are you excited?
We're pretty excited.
We've been using it
with our
barrels
for other stuff.
For racking. But
yeah, we've used it a little bit, but all the other winemakers that come here look around and go, wow, you've got a view from your crush pad. This is the nicest crush pad in town. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, I want to come back for crush and just watch and see the crush pad in use, take
really
some photos.
Should.
And then just a view. I'm just looking straight out through this window, and I can see Mount Hood.
Yeah, you can.
It's just stunning. It's incressible. And not only going to do pizza, you mentioned the kitchen. I love food, so the pizzas are phenomenal.
Thank you.
But then you're also going to do pasta.
We have been doing some experiments with pasta and some chilled soups and some salads.
It's a lot here. Is farm to table. I've got a garden where we've been getting our tomatoes and our peppers and our onions and our garlic and things like that. We really are trying to do all we can in farm to table here.
And everything's made from scratch. Our pizza dough's made from scratch. All of our sauces, our Alfredo, our marinara, our pesto, everything's made from scratch.
And you have wine jelly that is phenomenal.
We do have wine jelly.
Hey, I love
we have
it.
a wine jelly pizza.
And it is good. I've had it. It is really good.
That's a Hood Crest special.
Yes.
Okay, so I do want to talk about the wine, but just an interesting tangent. You guys are part of the Tess Barr band, which is a blues band. I have your CD. I love your music. It's fantastic. You guys will take the stage later today as part of your grand opening.
We will.
So where did this blues come from?
Well, I've been a professional singer since I was 21. I've been playing and singing since I can remember. But I've actually been a professional singer for 37 years now. And I started out doing country and western, and then I went to rock and roll when I was in my 20s. I was up on San Juan Island. I was in a rock and roll band. And then when I moved to Seattle, I got up and jammed with the blues band, and so I've just been in love with the blues ever since. And so I've been doing the blues since 1986. But I really like my original songs, so I'm doing more originals, incorporating more of those.
Yeah, blues is probably my favorite type of music. Just give me a cold evening, some blues, and some Maker's Mark whiskey. No offense to the wine,
yeah.
and I'm just happy.
I got you.
And Patrick, what instrument do you play in the band?
I play guitar and also harmonica. I play a lot of slide. All the originals pretty much have slide guitar on it.
Yep. And what's the name of your first album?
Do What You Want.
Do What You Want, okay. And then second album, right?
The second album we're working on right now is called Trouble's Coming.
Trouble's Coming, and that's a song. You sing that song, right?
I do. They're both title tracks.
And we have a studio here on our property too, so this is where it's all been recorded. And we go into Portland studios for some things, but we'll be back in the studio hopefully soon on Trouble's Coming.
Yeah, we got interrupted while we built the winery.
Well, people, when you come to Hood Crest, you can come, and there'll be special days where you can have wine and wood-fired pizza and blues, and it's just a magical experience with fantastic people. All right, so enough dilly-dallying. Let's talk about the wine.
Okay.
Talk about some of your best sellers, some of your most popular.
Oh, our most popular wines are our big reds, because we're really known for that. People come out here and they're so excited to see that we've got Sangioveses and we've got Zinfandel, we've got Cabernet, we've got
Merlot.
Yeah, Grenache, Petit Syrah. We've also got Pinot Noir because we grow Pinot Noir here, but it's a little different because it's more of a gorge style. We have more heat out here than the valley. So a lot of people come out here and they're very excited that we've got more selection than just Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. But we also have Chardonnay.
And you grow some grapes right here.
We do. We grow Chardonnay and we grow Pinot Noir.
Yeah, about 25% of what we're producing comes from here.
We've also planted some Pinot Meunier, another clone of Pinot Noir, and a Chardonnay on the other side of the house over there, because that's going to be our sparkling champagne vineyard.
Yeah,
wow.
One vineyard dedicated to a sparkling wine that will come back full circle and hopefully be producing soon.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I didn't know that. When will I be
Yeah.
able to drink that, roughly?
4 years.
4 years. Oh, you guys are killing me.
We might we might try to find some Pinot Meunier somewhere and start messing around with it. But now that we have the room to actually do sparkling and have more skills, we're gonna get back to it.
You guys are killing me. At Culmination, Culmination Brewing, they make really good beer, and then they put it in barrels. Like, when can I drink it? They go a year. And I go, a
Right.
year? What? Come on. You guys are even worse. I can have the sparkling champagne and sparkling wine in 4 years. You're all right. You mentioned Sangiovese, and that's not as common
No.
a grape to be made wine with.
No, it's
It's what the Italians call Chianti. The more people know it as Chianti.
We love it. We do a lot of, we do some blends, but we're really, the big reds, the full-bodied big red single grape variety are what we're known for.
Well, we've gotten a lot of pretty big awards with our reds. Last year, we got a silver medal on our Merlot at San Francisco Chronicle Wine Competition. That's the largest in North America, 7,100 wineries. And that's a pretty big deal. And then this year, we actually got a gold on our Cabernet Sauvignon 2013 in San Francisco. That's beating out all the Napa and Sonoma. That's a big deal.
Cheers. Tess, you are an amazing winemaker.
Thank you. And I would like to point out that we did that same Cabernet won Best of the Bite of Oregon, where we were last weekend.
Yeah, some of you might have visited us there and enjoyed that wine. But
Yeah, so Cabernet Sauvignon to your 2013 won Best of the Bite. Not the best cab, but the best wine.
No, the
Yes.
best cab.
Best cab, excuse me, best cab at the Bite.
Yep.
The Bite of Oregon.
Yeah, I got to go to a blind tasting, wine voting for that this year. I was honored to get invited to go. So I hope I voted for yours. I don't know because it was blind, but in my head now I'm sure I must have.
Well, you're about to try some. So
Congratulations,
you'll know.
those are great awards. So I know we're going to drink a little bit of your wine, but Tess, what's your philosophy on winemaking?
Oh, just keep it clean, keep it simple. We don't manually or chemically manipulate the wine as little as possible. We're dedicated to more gentle practices. We've got low flow pumps, and we don't crush the berry as hard as we used to. And pretty much the philosophy is just really great grapes, as good as we can get them, French oak, and just protect the wine at all costs. So we're always fastidious about cleanliness, topping the wine, to keeping it from air, and you can tell that this is climate controlled in here.
Going for the great grapes is really the key, and that's where I try to really work hard on. We work with what we grow here. We're on it totally all the time. The growers that we've been working with are the same ones since we started, and we work directly with them. We buy either all they grow and talk with them often, or we have our dedicated areas in their vineyard. Some of them, like Waving Tree, is planting blocks for us now just for more cab, because we've done so well with their grapes in our cab, and so that to me is the essence of just going for good grapes. We hand pick, we hand sort. If you start with good grapes, you don't have to go starting to, cover your mistakes with chemicals.
Now, I know you're particular, Tess, about things like the bricks.
Oh, yeah.
And now, for those that don't know the wine business, when you're talking about the bricks, you don't mean actual bricks that I could throw through my ex's living room window. You don't mean that.
No.
What do you mean what's a brick, and why does it matter to you, the brick? Explain it and then tell us why it matters.
Well, it's bricks, and it's BRIX, and that's how you measure sugar in fruit. And just for example, a white is usually right between 19 and 21 bricks, and Pinot Noir at about 22. And we like our big reds to hang around a lot, and the bricks we get on that is anywhere from 24 and a half up to 26 bricks. It's also a direct correlation to alcohol content, because the higher the bricks, the higher the alcohol content in the wine.
Okay,
so it's very important.
And I know you're particular about your yeast as well.
I am. I study lots of different types of yeasts, and over the years I use different yeast for all the different varieties of grapes, and I think that it really makes a big difference.
So something that I've heard you say, I know winemakers say it. They say it a lot. I've heard it now the past couple of years since I've been working on my wine book and becoming more educated about wine. I consider myself a fan, far from a connoisseur. But you said it, and then Dyson DeMera with Hood Crest Winery, the birthplace of Oregon Pinot Noir, as voted by the Oregon legislature. There's a historical marker out there. Both cool. You and him say you want to be able to taste the fruit. Now, what does that mean?
Well, all the grapes are different, and they all have a different taste. They look differently. They don't all look the same, and they all have their unique characteristics. And some wineries that you go to and taste the wines, they kind of all taste the same. And that's because they get the same type of treatment, the same type of yeast, the same type of malolactic fermentation, the same. They're all treated the same. We are really proud of the fact that when you taste our Sangiovese, you can actually taste the really nice ruggedness about it. When you taste our Cabernet, you can taste the nice pepper flavor. You can taste the nice strawberry nose. The Malbec has a real blackberry finish to it and a little bit of tobacco. So the Merlot always has a real nice juicy flavor, and it's got a little caramel finish. So a lot of that is very inherent just in the grape itself. And a lot of people, we try to enhance those flavors and bring them out more. We think that the subtleness of the French oak really does its job and just letting it sit and simmer in the barrels is just the best way to do it.
Yeah, people uneducated about wine that don't know, they just grab a bottle of maybe a mass-produced wine. I've come to discover that kind of, it tastes like wine. It kind of just tastes almost generic. Part of it is you've got a lot of chemicals. They use the same chemical over and over. They use things like Mega Purple, which is a color additive
agent.
that makes it that bright, brilliant color, but that's just that's a fake color.
It is.
And I think that's part of the why that for a long time, not really knowing the wine business, I'd have wine like that and just think, oh, it tastes like wine. And then I started drinking wine like yours, wine like Hood Crest, and many other places here in Oregon. We're blessed with amazing winemakers. All of a sudden it hit me, this is my dumb response. I thought, this doesn't taste like wine. This is phenomenal. This tastes like fruit. It tastes phenomenal. I mean, it is wine. It tastes like wine, but it's like a whole nother level of flavor and depth and complexity that you get from wine like yours.
Well, and you mentioned the coloring agent. A lot of wines that are mass produced are actually made in stainless steel vessels, and they add coloring, they add oak flavorings, they add all types of stabilizers, and a lot of people think that it's sulfites that gives them a headache, but usually it's the coloring agents and the oak flavorings and the other flavorings. There's lots of flavorings that get added to wines, and a lot of times people say, I don't get a headache when I drink your wine, and I usually have a really hard time with it, and I've come to realize that it's probably because we don't put any of that kind of stuff in our wine.
We do small batches, and we want to have each batch taste like that batch. It's like you go to these big wineries and they have this wine and it needs to taste the same, and they get grapes from different places, and they have to just kind of hit this taste level bar where it's the same. And you can go to some places and all their varietals will taste the same. But we don't mind if our 2012 tastes different than our 2013. It's a different grape. Each year your grape is a little bit different, and we don't have to have it taste the same. Like some of these big wineries, that are known for this flavor, they have to hit that every year.
Well, and then if the grape is slightly different, that's more chemical manipulation to get that. You're not letting the grape sing, to use an analogy. You're kind of then manipulating it and saying, okay, no, you're going to be this way, and using chemicals to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're trying to get the best out of the grape each year.
All our wines are different from year to year, even though we're the same winemaker and the same grapes. That's actually called a vertical tasting. We have several vintages now where you can actually sit down and do a vertical tasting. Like you can taste the 2011 Chardonnay and the 2012 and the 2013 and the 14 all next to each other, and they all taste exactly. They don't all taste exactly the same, and they shouldn't, because one year maybe it wasn't very hot, so the grapes didn't get enough sugar, or the seed didn't ripen enough, and maybe the water was different. So they all taste different.
What I like about you, Tess, is that you've got the science side. Patent formulator, is that right? We're like, you're way smarter than any of us here at the table. No offense to Patrick.
He's pretty smart.
Oh, he is. And then you're a musician, and that's the artist side, and you bring both science and art to your winemaking.
Oh, that's very cool.
She's a really good cook. That's what I'd say. How does she do this and the chemical stuff? It's because she's a really good cook.
Pretty much, I used to make a mean batch of cookies.
All right, so let's drink this wine. So you have fun. This is two of my favorites. I'm so lucky we get to drink wine on a Great Food, Great Stories podcast. But Super Tesscan, Tesscan, which is kind of a play on Tuscan.
Yes.
And so talk to us about this wine. Let's drink it and talk to us about it. Tell us what we're tasting, what it's like.
Oh, this is the first blend I ever did, and it's very popular. It's 50% Sangiovese, 25% Merlot, and 25% Cabernet Sauvignon. The first time I ever made Cabernet Sauvignon, I only made 2 barrels of it, and I was really delighted that it made the wine taste, the blend taste so good. And once I tried to blend it with anything else, I couldn't do it. But I didn't get a vintage of 2011 Cabernet because it all went into the blend. It wasn't until 2012 that I finally made enough to do the blend and get a pure cab.
So what kind of flavors are going to be prominent in the Tesscan?
Well, what do you taste? Do you taste any? It's very fruity. And it's surprising to me that those 3 big, bold grapes have such a light finish. And it's very subtle when you first taste it in your mouth, and then all of a sudden it goes bam and kind of explodes on the finish.
You can definitely taste the Sangiovese, but both the Cab and the Merlot kind of mellow it out, but give it a longer depth of flavor. That's what I like about it. And this 2013 is definitely, to me, the best Super Tuscan we've done. And we had the oak comes through. I think maybe we left it on just a little longer. We say everything's 2 years in oak, but it depends the flavor we're getting. If it goes a little longer, a little less, to hit that oak note that we like. And this one, I think we hit it better than ever. I love this wine.
It's really good, and 2013 was a really good year for grapes, and it goes with any food. It goes with even delicate fish or shrimp. It goes great with seafood, but it also goes amazing with any kind of bolder food. Like, it goes really good, pairs really good with our margarita pizza.
Any kind of tomato sauce.
Any kind of tomato sauce is really, really good. So it's very, very Italian style, handcrafted, very Italian style. And it almost cleanses your palate between each bite.
Well, that's like basically all of our wines, even our whites. We keep an acid profile that will still cleanse your palate. And for people, that's one thing that's missing in the generic wines a lot, is that they don't have that little bit of acid that, and sometimes people think that that's the way a wine should be. But our wine is meant to be drank with food. And so even our whites, our Chardonnays, aren't just that sweet, buttery Chardonnay. They have this acid like this does, where it cleanses your palate.
One of the things that I've done as far as a meal with the test can myself is I make a salad. I put some greens down, strawberries, blueberries, olive oil, a little bit of almonds, some goat cheese. I finish it with some grape tomatoes and a little bit of blackberry balsamic.
Oh, wow.
That and some French bread and butter, and your test can. I am a happy man. And because you've got the sweet from the fruit,
Right.
you've got the balsamic, you've got the goat cheese, a little bit of tang, and like you said, the test can has that profile that just fits perfectly with that.
Well, that's another thing that you can manipulate as being a winemaker, is you can manipulate the acid profile. And when you do cut the acid down, it does help make all the wine taste the same.
All right, so now let's give a try of the Cabernet Sauvignon. Oh, by the way, the 2014 test can. When will we be able to buy that?
Well,
Roughly, best guess.
Well,
don't know.
this
It's
moving into the new winery slowed down our bottling. So we have things in tanks right now that maybe we would have bottled a month or two ago. So they're just waiting for us to have the time to do it. And I think bottling is going to start next week, probably with some more of the Cab, and then maybe we have some Malbec, and we should hopefully have a Super Tuscan getting close.
I'll tell you what, we've got, if you look in this room where we have the puncheons in the VIP room, the private tasting room, we have 5 puncheons in there, and we keep our Sangioveses. We take some of it and we keep it on oak for 5 years to make a Brunello-style wine. And so we will be bottling next week 2012 Sangiovese that we just took out of the barrel. It's been in the barrel since
Technically, we should leave that in bottles for a year to do it the full-on Italian official style. But
Is that bottle conditioning?
yes.
Yep.
But I think we're going to be opening a few of those bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I think you
As
will.
soon as bottle shock wears off, we think it takes about a month to 2 months for the bottle shock to wear off.
Okay, so now let's try this Cabernet Sauvignon. This is your 2012 that we're drinking.
It is? Okay, great. I love the 2012. It has it's very rich, it's very robust. The acid profile's high, so it really cuts through fat, which means it goes great with a thick, heavy cream sauce. Cuts through meat if you're having meat, any kind of meat, or any kind of really nice, robust cheese. So it really, it's amazing how it is palate cleansing. It's got, you can really taste pepper. It's got a nice pepper finish on it.
The 2013 cab, with all its awards, just kind of became the flagship, and we just about sold out of it. So we kind of had to go back to the 2012, and sitting in the bottle for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going, wow, this has gotten pretty good.
Well, and to be fair, the 2012 got a gold at Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
And it's got a couple, 2 or 3 gold medals on it as well.
In Seattle too, Seattle Wine
It's got
Award?
a gold on the Seattle Wine Award.
Yeah, so I mean that one, if you're going to wave the flag, it did beat out all the Washington ones at the Seattle Wine Awards, and then it went to New York, and they sent a lot of the French cab over there, and it got a gold medal there. So it's it's another cab gold medal winner.
So roughly when will the 2014 cab be available? Roughly this year, next year?
It's still got to sit. It's not going to be ready this year. It won't be ready till next year because it's still got a little bit left to go in the oak.
Okay, so 2017 roughly is when I'll be able to drink the 2014 cab.
Unless you come, you can do a VIP tasting in the cave room, and there are 2 puncheons of Cabernet 2014. When you're in that room, it'll be a different tasting price, but you can taste the wine, the 2013 Sangiovese right from the barrels, and you can taste the 2014 cab, along with any of the library wines.
Okay, for those that don't know, what's a puncheon?
A puncheon is, so we're looking at barrels that are about 58 gallons right here.
That's a standard size for a wine barrel.
Yes,
Yep.
pretty much.
And a puncheon is a larger format, and it's about 2.5 to 3 of those fit into one puncheon.
So, just for size comparison, a regular wine barrel would be small, a puncheon would be medium, and this foeder would be extra large.
Oh, it's extra large, all right.
Or maybe double XL.
Yeah, right.
And so a puncheon allows you to have a little bit more wine in a container to get more for space.
Yes. More for space, and then it also allows you to leave it in longer so that you don't, it's got less surface area.
You don't over oak.
Because there's less wine in contact with the oak.
Yeah. Exactly.
Surface area.
Yep.
Don't make me sound like I know math. I don't.
That's okay.
I don't want to solve for X. That's awful. Okay, so you guys, a lot of people don't think of, as we wrap up, as wineries as culinary startups. But you are a business. You're not just a fun, hey, let's make some wine. You're an actual business, and if you don't make money, you go out of business.
That's correct.
And you're not only a startup, but you're a culinary startup.
Yes.
So what advice would you have for someone thinking, hey, I should I make great wine at home, I should open a winery?
Well, part of the issue with a restaurant, that we cannot call this a restaurant, but say food service in a winery, you have issues with the state. There's only certain things you can do with food in a winery. There's really a lot of rules about it. So if you are a winery trying to do food, good luck. But you know what? We just became so known for the wood-fired pizzas that we've been doing almost since day one that it had to come down here. And to do this and do it right, where we grill a few things like the onions for the Hood Crest special. Well, we were doing that in the other facility. We were able to do it in our outdoor kitchen, which is a whole nother set of rules. But to do it here, we had to basically establish a full-on commercial kitchen. So it was a huge investment in the fire suppression, the makeup air. I mean, we were thinking we could maybe do it off the internet on the cheap, and suddenly we just kind of looked at, this is getting kind of maybe out of our, we don't want it to blow up on us, so we were working a lot with Rose's equipment on it and getting some of the material, and they finally said, you know, we have a guy here that can help you design it. He designs McMiniman's kitchens, and you know, he might be able to have time. And of course, there was a rush to get it all done, but we finally worked with them, got the design, and you know, kind of bit the bullet and said, okay, this is part of us. We want this to be part of us. So it cost a whole lot more, but as buildings do anyway, that's part of what happens. But getting the kitchen right, we're so happy we did it, but it's going to make a longer payback period for us to do it. But it opens up a lot. But the biggest thing with a winery is that the food can't be the primary. So it's wine, but the food goes with our wine great, and it's a big part of it.
Do your homework. For sure.
How many hours a week do you think you worked your first year or two when you were opening the winery?
Well, we'd start working in April, and we wouldn't take a day off until end of November.
Yeah. Yeah,
We'd work every day, 7 days a week.
We've given up a lot for it, and especially this one because the county approval took so long to get.
So when you say this one, you mean this new building? Because it's the
new
same
building.
winery.
Yes.
But early on, in the first couple of years, you were putting in, what, 10, 12-hour days in?
Probably. And we did, we have more help now, but we did absolutely everything. Patrick and I did with our son and one other person.
We were making the pizzas. We were selling
Yes.
the wine.
We were doing all the crush without adequate equipment, so we were actually getting, making wine just bucket by bucket into the destemmer and, doing all the punch down, which we still do. But
So
we
you-
have better equipment now.
So when you guys started, you didn't have a winning lotto ticket and say, hey, great, we have $100 million, let's open a winery. You said, we're going to use the resources we have, and we're
Yeah.
going to bootstrap this thing.
Totally, we totally
did,
were
yeah.
that way, and some of the grape growers would really help us that way, not only in borrowing their equipment and using their fermenters, which we probably still will this year
Yeah, we'll
because
probably have to.
yeah, but definitely it was just penny by penny everything we
Yep.
had put into this.
And we have a really good relationship with our bank.
That's Centerpoint Bank in
Yeah,
Hood
that's
River.
right. That's correct. They were here for the grand opening, the ribbon cutting last night.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think people need to realize when they do culinary startup, they're all in. All of your time, all of your money, all of your emotional energy for at least a couple years.
Yeah.
And then when you do an expansion, like you guys went from your small little space to this amazing, beautiful space, that was like a second marathon
Yes.
that you had to engage in, right?
Yeah.
Is that an accurate kind of?
It
Totally,
is.
totally. I mean, it ups everything, and you really have to look at it financially, what you can do, and we've the buffer's kind of gone, so we're really having to look at things closer, which is good, and you need to do that, and it's like any business.
Well, I am honored that you guys are on the Great Food, Great Stories podcast. I love your wine. I love you guys. You do a wonderful job. The wine is incredible. The food is good. The music is better. It's just
As I say, the view's not too bad
the
either.
view's not too. Yeah, you've got orchards right across the street. I've got Mount Hood over there. I've got this nice hillside off to my
hills of
left.
Tuscany.
The hills of Tuscany. It's off to my
Yes.
left. It's just awesome. So
we love you too, Stephen. Thanks for helping us and being such a big part of it.
I've loved cheering you guys on, and it's just been a joy to watch you guys to grow, and I'm excited for more. And all right, cheers, you
Cheers.
guys.
Thank you, Steve. Hope to see a lot of you come out here and find us personally and say hi and that you heard us.
Yeah, I invite all of you who are listening to this podcast, please come to Orchard Road and come to Hood Crest Winery. You'll have a magnificent experience. You'll meet wonderful people. The staff here is amazing.
They really are.
People
Love our
care. It's a great environment. And just be prepared to spend the day. Spend 4 or 5 hours here. And you say, at one winery. You'll get some wine, you'll visit, you'll order a pizza, and it's just come to relax and spend the afternoon.
You'll end up joining the wine club.
All right, I am Stephen Shomler. You've been listening to the Great Food, Great Stories podcast on Portland Culinary Radio. Many thanks to Tess and Patrick from Hood Crest Winery. Cheers, you guys.